Hola, amigos. Okay, today I am going to talk about getting sick ratios and overtime ratios, if you'd like, for your team in order to better understand absenteeism, something that we haven't actually really dealt with at Umbrella in a lot of years, except now in 2025, we have had a lot of absenteeism and it's been concerning and it's been challenging to understand. And so last week I kind of like got to, ahead, if you will, of I need to figure out what our team's benchmarks are historically so that we can move forward with a really clear KPI benchmark that we can hold people accountable to, flag, have conversation with, and just better overall understanding where we're at. So I started digging in. First place I went to was trying to think through Jobber, but realized that there were some gaps in understanding the differences between overtime and sick pay and how we log the hours. So I had to come into QuickBooks Online. And from here, I was able to get some better clarity between sick time, overtime, and all those different things. So in order to do it this way, you can do it however you want, but whatever program you use, we use QuickBooks Payroll. You go to reports, standard reports. Now you're in payroll, scroll down to payroll, and you're going to go to payroll summary by employee. Okay, I'm going to not go farther than this because we have all of our sensitive customer employee data on here that I don't want to be showing you. So what you want to do once you're in that report, you're going to go to you're going to change the date range, okay, to whatever you want to do. Now, something to note here, the way that we have tracked things in the past, we've Umbrella's been in business for a long time, and we have not tracked sick time, like any of it, well. It wasn't until 2023 that we actually have proper tracking on this metric. We never actually did anything with the data, but we actually tracked it. So, hey, win from there. So I was able to pull 23, 24, and 25, okay? Now, one thing is we have a fiscal year end of March, like February 29th, 28th, because of our Christmas light season. And so that was something that I realized as I was working through this was the fiscal year end gets wonky because paid sick time is done calendar year. So I would suggest you do calendar year just because of that. I did the analysis fully on fiscal and then had to redo it on calendar to get the benchmark, and it's much better that way. So date range, however far you want to go back, I would suggest doing it year by year to get your averages per year, so then you can have a benchmark average that you can then go forward with. So you download the payroll summary year by year in Excel, and then you upload it to Google Drive, consolidate it into a sheet. Okay. You can see here, this is my anonymized data, and this is 23, 24, and 25. Okay, this is the only data that I was actually accurately able to get. Okay, and you can see what I did here was for the purposes of this, like I did sick hours and I did overtime. Overtime rate is just trying to better understand where your team is at, if you're under or overutilizing team members, if you've got really high numbers on overtime as a ratio, you may need more people and you're just spending a lot of extra money on overtime. Our numbers in 2025 actually came down versus previous years for sick ratios. Um, so I took all this information, okay, and this is where working with AI is really helpful. So then I took off to ChatGPT and I said, hey, I have the following information. This is for all blah blah blah, and I can give you all the prompts if you like. But basically, and I'm going to just scroll quickly because this first all part of this feed was discussing the different ways that we could work through this. and then what is the primary and secondary flag here. And then a bunch of this goes back through, a bunch of this information or conversation goes through the fiscal year end, and then me recognizing that this is not a good thing. And so I just ask, like, we have seasonal workers. I try to provide as much context as possible always, right? And then you've got how many hours roughly would that be? Would that skew the data? Let's exclude hours 500 and under from start from there. And the reason why we did this is because we have seasonal staff, and we have people that just quit or are terminated in the first 3 months of working with Umbrella. So then that skews things as well. So it's just a full conversation, right? You go through, and I've noticed something because sick leave hours are done calendar year, and I'm giving you fiscal. It skews percentages. 24, two team members have above 40 hours, which you shouldn't have paid sick leave above 40 hours. So that's where we started working through the different prompts. And then we got to kind of what it is, the average of our team members' paid sick days divided by regular hours, okay? And then we use the averages of the 3 years to get a 2.6 benchmark for our team. And then chat suggested using a traffic light system. So there's a nice visual there, red, yellow, and green, right? So then we have a benchmark way in which we can now handle people and their absenteeism. So I now have, as a company, we can, and this is a real life scenario. We just had somebody who called in sick 3 days in a row. They've been with us a very short period of time, and all of a sudden they're red. They're at a 5.5% sick ratio. So then we use the STAR system for managing performance, which is that, what, when, how, when, and circumstances, that conversation, to better understand what's going on. So going back to here, you take all this information. Now I consolidated, and I highly recommend you do this. Put all of the year's information into one spreadsheet because it's just much easier that way. Okay. And then these ratios right here are actually inaccurate because they're not taking into account the excluded people, like some of these. And then you have also, which I liked, you have, and this is something that we're going to use going forward with our automation contractor. He is going to create a flag, conditional formatting, that when someone, so these reds, that means that they're like above the threshold of 2.6. And I just use conditional formatting for that. So then it flags, highlights, like this is just, again, historical, but it shows where, who on my team in those years have been above the threshold. So then from there, we can actually look at, like, are some people year after year above the threshold? So then you may need to have a conversation around that to say, hey, what can we do here to minimize, or like, what support do you need to live a healthier life? Here is the sick ratios traffic light system. I just put it on a document, much easier, and then I can share this document with my team as we've introduced this, and that's it. So now, after you take this analysis, you will figure out your sick ratio benchmark. You can also figure out your overtime ratio benchmark, which is overtime divided by regular hours. You really want that number to be low, just like you want the sick ratio number to be as low as possible as well. Okay, and then this will help you hopefully manage your team better. It'll provide visibility to everyone who is managing others in your organization, and it allows for flags and accountability quickly. So that's how I did this. Hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye.